Jose, a worthless life like yours is not worth dirtying my $1 million hands. La Sagrada Familia. Get out of here before I have security throw you and your brat into the gutter. A venomous roar shattered the luxurious silence of the VIP lobby at Grand Mirae International Hospital. Chief of Cardiothoracic Surgery, Han Hye-jin, stood tall under the magnificent crystal chandeliers. His handsome face was twisted in absolute disgust. At his feet, Han Hye-jin, a poverty-stricken mother, was on her knees, was on the polished Italian marble floor. So, both of her hands desperately clung to his shiny leather shoes. Tears and dirt smeared her gaunt, hollow face. She did not care about her dignity. She did not care about the cold, judgmental stares of the elite patients surrounding them. Her only thought was to beg for the life of her young son, who lay gasping on a gurney nearby. Han Hye-jin did not show a single shred of mercy. He kicked her away with brute force. The impact sent Hye-jin sprawling across the icy marble floor. A cup of warm water she held to soothe her son was knocked from her hands. The water spilled over her tattered clothes and splashed onto his designer leather shoes. Staring at the dirty water stain on his shoes, Han Hye-jin flew into a rage. He pulled a silk pocket square from his designer suit jacket. He wiped his shoe while staring down at Hye-jin, as if she were a subhuman creature. This is a world-class, international hospital, a sanctuary for filthy beggars. Every single second of mine is worth thousands of dollars. I do not have time to do charity work for a child with no future. Real. Get out of my sight right now. Ignore. The chief surgeon's cruelty felt like a dagger driving straight into the mother's chest. The entire VIP lobby fell dead silent. Not a single person stepped forward to stop him. Doctors and nurses bowed their heads to avoid the scene. Wealthy onlookers covered their mouths, whispering and smirking at the miserable plight of the poor woman. How did this bitter tragedy begin? Let us freeze this agonizing moment in time. We must turn back the clock 6 months. Back to where the seeds of this dark injustice were first sown. Let us step back into the shadows of the past. 6 months ago, the glittering lights of Grand Mirae Hospital did not exist for Han Hye-jin. Her world was defined by the damp, suffocating air of a tiny semi-basement room. This was located in one of Seoul's poorest, forgotten hillside slums. Every single morning, before the sun could even warm the cold city concrete, Hye-jin was already awake. Body ached from working 3 different low-paying jobs. She cleaned luxury offices during the day. She washed dishes at a chaotic local diner during the evening. And late at night, she sorted heavy packages at a freezing logistics warehouse. Her hands were perpetually dry, cracked, and covered in small, painful cuts. Yet, she never once complained. Because every time she returned to her dark, Cramped room, a small miracle was waiting for her. Mommy, you're home. Though little Min Woo would run into her arms, his smile brighter than any high-end gallery. Light. Min Woo was not her biological son. Okay. 5 years ago, Hye-jin had found him abandoned in a cardboard box near a subway station on a freezing winter night. He was shivering, wrapping himself in a thin, wet blanket. As a poor, single woman, Leah, she knew adopting him would make her difficult life nearly impossible. At the moment, his tiny fingers locked around her worn-out hand, her heart made a silent vow. She would protect this boy with her very life. But fate is often cruel to those who have the least to give. When Min-woo turned 4, his energy began to fade. His lips would turn a haunting pale blue after just a few steps of walking. His breathing became shallow, heavy, and labored. The diagnosis at a local free clinic was a devastating blow to Hye-jin's soul. Severe congenital heart defect, a complex condition requiring an incredibly delicate, highly specialized surgical procedure. The doctor's words echoed like a set sentence in her mind. He needs a highly skilled specialist. Surgery must be performed within a year, or his heart will simply give out. The cost, it is a fortune that ordinary people can never hope to afford. No. From that terrifying day forward, Hye-jin's life became a desperate, relentless race against the ticking clock of mortality. She stopped buying meat for herself, surviving only on plain rice and cheap, leftover kimchi. She took on extra weekend shifts, pushing her physical limits to the absolute brink of collapse. Every single one she saved was tucked away in a faded, worn-out envelope under her thin mattress. She watched her little boy grow weaker, his beautiful laughter slowly replaced by quiet, painful gasps for air. Mommy, does my heart hurt because I'm not a good boy? Min-woo asked one night, his voice barely a whisper. Hye-jin had to bite her lip so hard it bled, to stop herself from sobbing out loud in front of him. She held his fragile body close, whispering into his hair. No, my sweet angel. You are the best boy in the entire world. So, Ami promises she will fix your heart, no matter what it takes. Dídame. She believed in her promise. She truly believed that if she worked hard enough, sacrificed enough, begged enough, the world would show a sliver of mercy. She did not know that in the high society world of medical elites, mercy was a luxury currency she could never afford to buy. The biting wind of Seoul's late December did not care about human suffering. It swept through the dark, narrow alleys of the slums, carrying with it a freezing, a gray fog. Jijin walked with heavy, wooden steps, her hands tucked deep into the pockets of her thin coat. She had just finished her third shift of the day. The dry, freezing air burned her lungs with every shallow breath she took. In her right hand, she tightly clutched a small plastic container of hot pumpkin porridge. It was a special treat for Min Woo, just with the very last coins in her pocket. Sally asked. She turned the corner near the entrance of her neighborhood. She heard a sound that made her freeze. It was a low, agonizing cough. Sound of deep, physical exhaustion, echoing from the dark space behind a row of overflowing trash bins. Han Hye-jin stopped her steps, her eyes peering through the dim, yellow glow of a flickering street lamp. There, slumped against the icy concrete wall, Zane was an old man. His hair was a messy nest of silver. His face was hidden beneath layers of dirt and a torn, gray woolen cap. Nasally, his clothes were nothing more than tattered, oversized rags, stiff with frozen mud. He was shivering violently, his bare, swollen hands clutching his chest as he struggled to breathe. No one knew anyone else in this fast-paced city. He was just another invisible, unpleasant spot on the pavement. Earlier that evening, the security guards of a nearby commercial building had brutally chased him away. They had cursed at him, calling him a smelly piece of trash that would scare away their wealthy customers. Hye-jin did not look away. She saw the raw pain in his eyes, a look of quiet desperation that she knew all too well. Without a second hombre justo, Zalia, she rushed over and knelt on the cold ground beside him. Sir, are you all right?" she asked, her voice trembling with genuine concern. The old man barely had the strength to look up, his pale lips parted in a silent gasp. Ilias. Hye-jin quickly unbuttoned her thin coat, the only barrier she had against the freezing night. Sagrada Familia. She took it off and gently wrapped it around the old man's shivering shoulders. The icy wind immediately bit into her own skin, making her entire body shudder. She ignored the cold. She opened the plastic container, allowing the warm, sweet steam of the pumpkin porridge to rise into the freezing air. "Please, sir, eat this. It's still very warm. It will help you get your strength back," she whispered gently. She held the spoon to his lips, feeding him with the patience and tenderness of a daughter. The cold man swallowed the warm food slowly, his dark, sharp eyes quietly studying her worn-out face. He noticed her red, swollen knuckles, the faded, cheap plastic hospital wristband she wore from her many visits to the clinic. Why are you helping a worthless beggar like me?" the old man asked, his voice incredibly hoarse, yet strangely deep. Hye-jin gave him a soft, sad smile as she watched him eat. "Because no one deserves to be left alone in the cold, Sigurd. My little boy, he is very sick. His heart is failing. Iflo. Every day, I pray that someone, somewhere, will show him a little bit of kindness when I am not there to protect him. Leopolda. Helping you tonight is my way of sending that prayer out into the world." The old man remained silent, but his gaze fell upon the cheap, rusted brass key ring dangling from her bag. It was shaped like a small, old-fashioned anchor, a symbol of hope. He looked back at her face, his eyes suddenly shifting from those of a weak, dying beggar to something else. An intense, piercing look of absolute authority, hidden beneath a mask of dirt and silver hair. Your kindness is a rare currency in this city, young lady, the old man said quietly, his voice no longer trembling. Do not let the coldness of this world steal it from you. Hye-jin simply nodded, helping him finish the warm food before stand up. She pointed him toward a nearby shelter that was open for the night, making sure he was warm enough to walk. See, she did not ask for his name, and he did not offer it. She walked back to her freezing room, her body numb from the cold, but her heart feeling strangely light. She had no idea that the old man she had just saved from the brink of hypothermia was not a beggar at all. He was Park Jin-man, the legendary, reclusive chairman of the multi-billion-dollar Grand Mirae Medical Group. Her simple act of mercy had just rewritten the destiny of everyone she was about to meet. Time was running out. Ying Wu's condition had deteriorated rapidly over the past month. His small body was constantly exhausted. Even the simple act of enough made him gasp for air. Hye-jin had worked herself to the bone. She sold her late mother's wedding ring, the only heirloom she possessed. She took out high-interest loans from shady neighborhood lenders. And in a final, desperate act of maternal sacrifice, she signed a contract to sell her own cornea. It was a dangerous, underground transaction. She did not care. Era familia. She only cared about the envelope of cash sitting on her table. She had finally gathered the minimum deposit required for Ming-Wu's life-saving heart surgery. With trembling hands, she carried the heavy envelope to Grand Mirae Hospital. But when she arrived at the cardiothoracic department, she was met with a cold, solid wall of bureaucratic indifference. I am sorry, Miss Han, but Chief Kang has cancelled your son's surgery, scheduled for tomorrow, the receptionist said coldly, even looking up from her computer screen. Hye-jin's heart stopped. What? Why? I have the money right here. Every single one of it. She cried out, placing the worn, thick envelope on the counter. The receptionist sighed in irritation. Chief Kang's schedule has changed. A high-priority patient was admitted this morning. That high-priority patient was none other than the spoiled daughter of a major real estate mogul. She needed a minor, elective cosmetic procedure, a scar revision near her collarbone. It was a simple, non-life-threatening surgery that any junior resident could perform. But her father had offered Chief Kang Ji-hoon a massive, declared, cash bribe and a luxurious apartment in Gangnam to do it personally. To Kang Ji-hoon, a wealthy heiress's tiny scar was worth infinitely more than a poor orphan's failing heart. Driven by desperation, Han Hye-jin bypassed the guards and burst directly into Chief Kang's private office. "Chief Kang, please, you cannot do this," she sobbed, throwing herself onto her knees before his massive mahogany desk. "The money is here. My son will die if he doesn't get the surgery tomorrow." Kang Ji-hoon slowly looked up from his designer tablet, his eyes narrowing in sheer annoyance at her intrusion. He stood up, adjusting his pristine white lab coat, walked over to her. "How did this filthy woman get into my office?" whispered, his voice dripping with venom. "Listen to me very carefully, you pathetic beggar. Medicine is a business. My skills are a premium luxury. You say, a worthless life like your son's is not worth a single second of my highly trained hands. I am a surgeon for the elite, the garbage disposal for the slums. Menke, now take your dirty money and get out of my sight before I have my security guards throw you into the street." His mink. He grabbed the heavy envelope of cash off his desk and threw it violently at her face. The envelope burst open upon impact. Hard-earned, blood-stained bills scattered across the floor like worthless paper. Han Hye-jin sat frozen in the middle of the paper storm, her soul completely shattered by his monstrous cruelty. She realized then that, to these people, she and her son were not even human. They were just trash to be swept away. But, as she wept silently on the floor, dark wheels of karma were already turning. The countdown to Chief Kang's ultimate destruction had officially begun. The heavy mahogany doors of Chief Kang's office slammed shut. But the echo of his cruel laughter remained, burning inside Hye-jin's shattered soul. Slowly, she gathered the crumpled, dirty bills from the cold marble floor. Every single banknote was paid for with her blood, tears, and her sight. Yet, to the elites of Grand Mirae Hospital, this money was just worthless, contaminated paper. She walked out to the grand VIP lobby like a ghost, clutching the torn envelope to her chest. Her eyes were red, swollen, and nearly blind from the endless weeping. As she reached the lobby, Lace, she saw the security guards approaching her with cold, aggressive steps. "Chief Kang's orders. You and your sick brat need to get out of our lobby immediately," the lead guard barked, grabbing her arm. "Please, just let me sit with him for 5 minutes. He's too weak to be moved into the rain," Hye-jin begged, her voice cracking. The guard did not listen. He dragged her toward the massive glass sliding doors, pushing her out into the freezing soul downpour. As she fell onto the wet, icy asphalt outside, her phone, in her pocket, began to ring. It was the nurse from the pediatric ICU, her voice panicked and trembling. "Mrs. Han, Min-woo's heart rate is dropping rapidly. We need to move him to an operating room immediately." Raminia. But Chief Kang cancelled the surgery," Hye-jin cried out. Her voice drowned by the thunder. If we don't operate in the next hour, his heart will stop completely. I am so sorry, the nurse whispered before the line went dead. Han Hye-jin looked up at the towering clinical fortress of Grand Mirae Hospital. The brilliant, warm lights from the VIP suites seemed to mock her agony. She stood up, her bare feet slipping on the wet road, charged back through the sliding doors. She ran past the shouting security guards, her boots squeaking loudly on the pristine Italian marble. She screamed his name, her voice echoing through the entire vaulted ceiling of the VIP lobby. Ji-hoon, saving my son is your job. You are a doctor. Them. Wealthy patients in silk robes stopped and stared, whispering in deep disgust at the crazy, fat woman, ruining their peaceful environment. Chief Kang Ji-hoon stepped out of the VIP elevator, flanked by his junior residents and the wealthy real estate mogul. Seeing Han Hye-jin soaking wet and screaming, his face contorted in absolute fury. Grab that filthy animal and throw her into the gutter, Kang Ji-hoon roared at the security team. She is a threat to our high-class patients. Drag her out now. 4 burly guards slammed Han Hye-jin onto the polished floor, pinning her arms behind her back. But just as they began to drag her toward the exit, a low, incredibly powerful voice echoed from the main entrance. Release her immediately. The voice was not loud. It possessed an immense, undeniable authority that made everyone freeze. The security guards stopped in their tracks. Kang Ji-hoon turned around, ready to curse at whoever dared to interfere with his orders. But the words died in his throat. A massive black luxury limousine had parked directly at the VIP entrance, its gold emblem gleaming under the lobby lights. And walking into the lobby, surrounded by 6 tall men in tailored dark suits, was an old man. He wore an exquisite, hand-tailored wool coat. His silver hair was combed back perfectly. But beneath that elite exterior, the eyes were sharp, deep, and filled with a cold, terrifying fire. It was Park Jin-man, the legendary, reclusive chairman of the Grand Mirae Medical Group. And as Han Hye-jin looked up through her tears, her dropped in absolute shock. This powerful, billionaire tycoon was the exact same dying beggar she had wrapped in her own coat and fed with warm pumpkin porridge in the freezing slums just weeks ago. The absolute, icy silence that fell over the Grand Mirae VIP lobby was deafening. The security guards immediately released their tight grip on Han Hye-jin. They stepped back, their heads bowed in deep, trembling respect. Chief Kang Ji-hoon stood frozen, his eyes wide with horror, as he stared at the old man. His face, which had been filled with arrogant fury just seconds ago, turned completely pale. Chairman Park, Kang Ji-hoon stammered, his voice suddenly squeaking like a terrified child. What are you? Why are you dressed like Vida? Chairman Park Jin-man did not answer him. Instead, he walked slowly over to the soaking wet, shivering Han Hye-jin. He ignored the water dripping onto his expensive, hand-tailored wool coat. He reached down, offering his strong, steady hand to help her up. "I apologize, my child," Chairman Park said, Sidla, his voice deep and filled with a warmth that shocked everyone in the lobby. "I promised you that the world would show your son mercy. Nakie, I did not realize that the rot in my own hospital was what was blocking that mercy from reaching you." Hye-jin looked up, her eyes wide, as she realized the truth. The helpless, freezing old man she had known Chikauhuac, doing it, and fed with her last bowl of porridge, was the ruler of this entire medical empire. Chairman Park gently handed her a warm, dry towel from a nearby VIP cart. Then he turned around. The warmth on his face vanished instantly, replaced by a cold, razor-sharp gaze that locked onto Kang Ji-hoon. "Chief Kang," the chairman said, his voice echoing off the high marble walls like a tolling bell of doom. "You said medicine is a business. Your skills are a premium luxury. You said this mother's money was dirty. Her son's life was worthless trash." No, Chairman. That was a misunderstanding," Kang Ji-hoon cried out, his hands shaking violently as he took a step forward. I was protecting the hospital's reputation. The lady from the Hanshin group needed silence." Chairman Park's assistant, a sharp-faced man in a tailored suit, stepped forward and raised a hand. "We have been monitoring you for 6 months, Chief Kang," the assistant announced, holding up a sleek tablet. "Your private offshore bank accounts, a Gangnam penthouse, under your mistress's name, the illegal kickbacks you received from medical device suppliers. We have it all, Suemo. And more importantly, so Eldi, the assistant tapped the screen, the large, high-definition monitor in the lobby suddenly flickered to life. The screen was a crystal-clear security feed of Chief Kang's office from earlier that day. The audio boomed through the high-quality lobby speakers. "A worthless life like your son's is not worth a single second of my highly trained hands. I am a surgeon for the elite." So, Kang Ji-hoon's own voice echoed through the lobby, stripping away every single shred of his dignity in front of his wealthy patients, colleagues, and the gathering crowd. "You stripped this mother of her hope, and you threw her blood-stained money on the floor," Chairman Park said coldly. "Itahun, now I will strip you of everything you have ever stolen from this world. With the authority of the board of directors, you are stripped of your license to practice medicine at Grand Mirae, effective immediately. And your assets, including the penthouse you bought with blood money, have been frozen by the financial prosecutors who are currently waiting for you in the parking lot." Kang Ji-hoon's knees buckled. He fell onto the very same polished Italian marble floor where Hye-jin had qui soup just moments before. The prestigious lobby of Grand Mirae Hospital had turned into an arena of absolute humiliation. Chief Kang Ji-hoon sat on the wet, cold marble, staring blankly at the giant screen. His own voice, filled with arrogance and cruelty, yet kept echoing through the grand hall. The elite patients who had highly praised him just minutes before now stepped back, whispering with disgusted expressions. So this is the great Chief Kang, monster who would let a child die for a bribe. Then, how disgusting. He shouldn't just lose his license. He belongs in a prison cell. Lele, every word from the crowd felt like a heavy stone, crushing his remaining pride. He looked up, his face pale and wet with cold sweat, trying to reach for Chairman Park's hand. Chairman Park, please, give me one more chance. I have served at this hospital for 10 years. I made Grand Mirae the most profitable cardiovascular center in Seoul. You cannot destroy my entire life because of one worthless, poor Sang family. Chairman Park Jin-man did not even look down at the pathetic man pleading at his feet. He slowly adjusted the cuffs of his tailored wool coat, his voice calm but incredibly cold. You did not make this hospital great. Chief Kang, the dedicated, honest doctors did. You only turned a sanctuary of healing into a market of greed. And you did not just cross a medical line today, and you crossed a human one. Oh. Before Kang Ji-hoon could speak another word, the heavy glass doors of the VIP lobby slid open. 3 officers in dark suits, holding leather briefcases and badges, walked in with firm, heavy steps. They were investigators from the Financial Crimes Division and the Medical Ethics Board. Kang Ji-hoon, you are under arrest for professional negligence resulting in severe bodily harm, illegal tax evasion, and accepting corporate bribes, the lead investigator announced coldly. A sharp, metallic click echoed through the silent lobby. Silver handcuffs were locked tightly around Kang Ji-hoon's trembling wrists. He tried to stand, but his legs were like jelly, forcing the officers to drag him across the floor. As he was led away, he passed the gurney where little Min Woo lay, his breathing still shallow. He saw the old man he had once called a filthy beggar, gently resting a hand on the boy's forehead. Sagrada Famille Fogio. He saw the poor mother he had kicked to the ground now standing tall, her eyes filled with a quiet, powerful dignity. His empire of gold, status, and luxury had collapsed into nothingness in a matter of minutes. The very system of power he had used to crush others had now turned around to crush him completely. The storm outside the glass doors of Grand Mirae Hospital slowly began to clear. As the police vehicle carrying the ruined Kang Ji-hoon sped away into the gray Seoul morning, quiet peace returned to the grand lobby. Chairman Park Jin-man turned back to Hye-jin, his expression soft and full of deep respect. Your son will not die today. Miss Han, the chairman said gently. Sena. In fact, he's going to have the best medical team this country has to offer. En fait. Within 30 minutes, Wu was transferred to the hospital's state-of-the-art sterile operating theater. The surgery was personally led by Dr. Choi, a brilliant, Ji-Hoo, humble cardiac surgeon whom Kang Ji-hoon had sidelined for years. Jin sat in the waiting room, no longer shivering from the cold, but wrapped in a warm blanket provided by the staff. A thick envelope of crumpled, dirty bills sat safely on the table beside her. Chairman, Park had refused to take a single one of it for the surgery. Keep your money, Miss Han, he had told her with a smile. Your kindness in the freezing snow was worth more than any currency in this world. But if you want to help me, I have a proposal for you. Doste. I am establishing the Minwoo Hope Foundation, a fully funded charity branch of our medical group, Nakao. Its sole purpose is to pay for the complex surgeries of children from families who cannot afford them. I need someone with a heart as pure as yours to manage it. Someone who knows what it feels like to stand in the cold, and who will never turn a desperate mother away. Tears of pure, overwhelming gratitude slid down Hye-jin's cheeks as she accepted. 4 hours later, the red light above the operating room finally turned green. Dr. Choi stepped out, removing his surgical mask, tired but triumphant smile on his face. The surgery was a complete success, Miss Hangmeno. Your boy's heart is beating strong, completely on its own. When Hye-jin was allowed into the recovery room, she saw Min-woo lying peacefully under the clean sheets. His lips were no longer a palo, fountain blue, but a healthy, warm pink. He slowly opened his eyes, looking up at his mother, with a faint, beautiful smile. Mommy, he whispered, his voice stronger than it had ever been. My heart, it doesn't hurt anymore. Héroe. Hye-jin buried her face in his small hand, weeping tears of absolute joy and relief. The long, dark night of their suffering was finally over. The bright, beautiful dawn had begun. As we watch this mother and child finally find their peace, we must look back at the grand salles of Grand Mirae Hospital. We must look at the expensive Italian marble floors, lions and rejons à la Juso, and the wealthy elites who stood by and watched a desperate mother get kicked to the ground. And we must ask ourselves a very difficult question. If Chairman Park had not been there, disguised as a beggar, if Hye-jin had not shown him that rare, selfless act of kindness in the freezing snow, would little Min-woo still be alive today? Or would his life have been quietly swept away into the gutter, ignored by a society that only values those with a heavy wallet? If you were standing in that luxurious VIP lobby, watching Chief Kang order his guards to drag a crying mother out into the freezing rain, would you have stepped forward to protect her? Say, or would you have quietly turned your head away to protect your own comfortable position. Leave your honest thoughts in the comments below, because, Symes, our silence is the loudest choice of all.